With that, we'll go ahead and get started. I am Christy Franco. Full name is Christian, which is appearing on the screen. I lead creator growth here at Magic Links. So work really closely with creators to help them strategize their overall monetization strategy and posting strategy. And yeah, just excited for you to be here. And with that, give it over to Allie.
Thanks, Christy. Hi, everyone. It's great to see a lot of familiar names in here. And for anyone who I haven't met yet, my name is Allie. I'm the Senior Creator Growth Manager here. And I work with creators to strategize and help grow their affiliate performance. So, yeah, I look forward to connecting with you if I haven't met you already. But we have a lot of great stuff to cover today. So, I'm going to hand it over to Chloe to get things started. So, Chloe, you can take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Chloe. I have been connected with Magic Links for about 7 years now, but I've been on YouTube for 9 years at this point, which is insane to think about. I've been, yeah, creating content for almost a decade, and I am very fortunate to call it my full-time job. I have been doing it full-time for a while. My husband works with me, so we do it as a family. It's something that I absolutely love. I love the creation side, the business side of it, the relationship side of it. Getting to do stuff like this is always really fun. And yeah, I've grown my YouTube channel, slow growth over the last 9 years to 180,000 subscribers. I've experienced truly the shift of what YouTube has become over the last decade, where you have moments of plateaus, you have moments of high growth, and it is just something that I'm constantly chipping away at. I'm sure you guys know, YouTube is a very rewarding platform. It can be a really hard platform sometimes, but there's so much upside to it. And so I'm really excited because we have Jase here, and he's really the expert that's going to be walking us through just strategy for YouTube. And I'm going to let him just introduce himself.
Sure. Thank you, Chloe, and to the Magic Links team and everyone for joining. Just to give a real quick background on me. So I joined YouTube in 2021, but honestly, my story goes back further than that. While I haven't been a creator myself, I was a heavy user very early days. And then in college, I did a couple papers and projects on the Google acquisition, internet subcultures. So I've always been a YouTube pro consumer. And I was at Google, but with Google Cloud, and I was finding myself burned out. And I was like, I really want to do something that's closer to something that I'm passionate about, which is creativity. And I started looking internally and I found this job called a partner manager. And I was like, I can't believe this is a real job. I can't believe this exists. I get to go work with creative people on YouTube and help them achieve their goals. Sign me up. And so I dove right in, started consuming all the podcasts, all the breakdowns, all the newsletters, working with a wide swath of creators from people who are just getting started to people who are on their growth trajectory, names like Eric, Colin and Samir, Yes Theory, to name a few. And my journey has really looked like I started working directly with creators, did that for about 3 years. And then I started working with media companies. And then now I service the creator ecosystem. So talent management, talent agencies, and our partners like Magic Link. So I've really seen the whole gambit of what it means to partner with YouTube. Super excited to have this chat with you, Chloe.
Thanks, Jase. Yeah, honestly, even just saying some of those names, I'm like, wow, can't believe you're here talking to us today. Yeah, so for today's webinar, we're going to be talking a lot about YouTube strategy, obviously, since we have Jase, and really what is going to help us all who are on this call, including me, grow this year. The platform has obviously changed so fast. It's continually changing. So we're going to talk about discoverability, best practices from start to finish video creation and publishing to audience retention. We're going to cover analytics and just how to really support long form creators because I don't think that it's a dying art. That's one thing about YouTube is that I feel like there is a real shift where we were all moving towards short form, but I'm seeing this rebirth of that longing for a really long interaction with your favorite creator. And so I feel like YouTube is obviously the best place for that. It's been around for the longest. And so I want to start off with the first thing, which I feel like we're all always just chipping away at is discoverability. And what would you say is what's actually impacting how videos are discovered for long form creators right now, Jace?
Yeah. So this is when I was working directly with creators, this is the number one question that we're like trying to get at. And this relationship with creators, it can span multiple years. And so I'm going to try my best to distill it into a quick answer, but really there is no silver bullet. And the truth is that it really does depend on you, your audience, what makes you tick, formats, your creative style, platform trends. That being said, I want to give some specifics. First off, when we talk about discoverability, most people are also thinking hand in hand with the algorithm. And one of the reframes that someone shared with me early on here is anytime you want to say algorithm, replace that with audience. And this could be one of those things that you roll your eyes at, but I do think it's a really good reframe where it's okay. Oh, the algorithm didn't like that last upload. No, the audience didn't like the last upload. Really putting yourself in the shoes of what does my audience like? What have they come to expect? Who are they? These are all very important questions. And so I like sharing that as like a first takeaway, just to reframe your mind, especially when you start thinking about analyzing the performance of a video or analyzing the performance of your channel. The second piece, and this is the part that as I worked with creators more and more, it became increasingly more important for me to talk about is what are your goals and what's your vision? And what were they when you started? And obviously they've changed. Are you just chasing views just to have a higher number than you did last month? Is this still making you happy? What is your like you probably started because it was like a creative outlet. Like remembering those things are important because, honestly, the numbers only tell one part of the story. There's you as a person, there is your audience, there's creativity, and the numbers are very important, yes, but if you're utilizing those as your sole reason for, like, making a piece of content, it's probably not the right piece of content. The next one, don't be afraid to try something new and include your audience on this journey. Chloe, to your point, like, it was shorts and now it's okay, maybe it's authenticity. Like the platform is changing and it's changing faster than ever before. There's more competition than ever before. And so the truth is like trying new things is more important than like just saying, this is who I am and I'm sticking to it sometimes. Because if you're not trying new things, then that means you're probably not growing with your audience or you're not growing with the platform trends. So maybe it's a format, like maybe it's shorts, maybe it's live, maybe it's long form, maybe it's engaging in community posts, or maybe it's just, oh, I've been doing this same format for a long time and it's time to switch it up or try something different. And the last thing that I recommend when it comes to like, how do we get discovered is just watch YouTube. Take notes of things that you like. Watch people in your niche. Look for different trends. How can you make them your own? And how can you make them your own, like authentically? Not just rip and replace, but is there a trend that I could hop on, or is there a format that's popular that I can make my own and be authentic in that? And so those are very high level answers. Hopefully, we'll get into some of the analytics based questions because there'll be more in terms of watch time and what have you. But at a high level, those are my suggestions.
Yeah, that's really good. And I feel like it like really hits home what you said about do you still love this? Are you chasing a number?
Yeah.
Because as somebody who has been on for almost a decade, who now it's a full-time job, obviously started as a passion. I was doing 100 other things while I was doing YouTube, and I had always dreamed for content creation to be my source of income. But along the way, you realize like it becomes a job and it's like rediscovering that love, not burning out, not
Mm,
just chasing a bigger month, more subscribers, like a numeric goal, I think is what really also just brings the longevity of like content creation. Because if you are just running the race, just trying to get that next hit of views or whatever, it's
yeah.
gonna leave you just like completely burned out. And I feel like that's where a lot of even huge creators end up is in burnout from just trying to chase those analytics. So I thought yeah, that first point was just amazing. On to our next question, because I do think we are going to get into some analytics.
Yeah.
Growing as a smaller creator, that like first 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers are such huge milestones. And I think what you said in that first point, it's what kind of subscribers are you even gaining? Are they quality subscribers? Because I do think that there's a real special, there's something special about having few but very high quality people watching your videos. And so for a smaller creator who is just trying to gain maybe that first 10,000 subscribers or even 500 to 1,000, like what should they be prioritizing right now?
Yeah, I'm personally a fan of more depth than breadth, even at this stage. I've worked with people who really chase like the breadth with their audience, doing massive collabs, jumping on every trend. And while it can really add fuel to the fire, if you don't have your brand and the value that you provide, like if that's not well understood by your audience, you have an empty audience and you'll get situations where something like 97%, 98% of all your watch time is coming from non-subscribers. And if you're in a situation like that, it's very challenging to build sustainably. And so even as you're just growing or you're in maybe in the early stages, I really think depth is important. And so what does that look like? Maybe you do live streams with your audience and you like know some of their usernames by name. Maybe you've given your audience a name, like a brand. Maybe you're making the creation process two-way. You're using community posts or the end of a video and you're saying, what do you want to see next? Let me know what you thought about this in your comments. These are things that like really bring people along the journey. And I really do subscribe to this idea of like 10,000 true fans or 1,000 true fans are more important than a massive audience, especially with things like memberships, newsletters, shopping, whatever it is, there are ways to add value to your audience and extend the value prop that you give them beyond just the content and make a living doing so. And again, can't stress this enough. I do think depth and building with your audience is important. One more tactical answer here is I personally think multi-format is just the way of the future. So I think building sustainably with all formats is important, whether that's, okay, I'm predominantly long form and I want to do a few shorts a week or add in a live stream every month. I think having multiple formats, like meeting people where they're at, how they want to watch, and also building that into their behavior, into their viewing behavior is important as well. Like it's much harder to grow your audience if you're shorts only and then say, okay, now I'm trying longs. Whereas as you're growing, like building those muscles with your audience, I think is really important.
That's awesome. Yeah. Actually have a question about like building that like viewer like consistency appetite. It's
Yeah.
you feel like you can change someone's like viewing. What am I trying to say? Like what you said
The
their
viewing
viewing habit.
behavior.
Yeah.
I don't think so,
Okay.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. If someone is came to you because they really like your short form content, they might come watch your longs, but they're probably a short form first viewer.
Okay.
You can build audiences like outside of that. I'm not saying, hey, if you're short form first, don't try long form because I think there's just like a different audience for your long form. And I think there will be some crossover. But like for me, I really like cooking content in short form. I can't tell you the last time I watched like a cooking long form video. Even though I don't get any of the recipe in a short and it's more about the satisfaction, I never watched long form.
Mm.
Whereas when it comes to investigative journalism or like a really deep dive into a topic, those shorts just don't do it for me. I'm left wanting more, but I could spend 30 minutes listening about a breakdown of a song beat. All this to say, I think that viewer behavior is challenging, which is a reason why being multi-format actually is important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely so I started I grew up watching YouTube, so YouTube's always had a very, like, special place in my heart. It's where I've always connected the most. But as a, like, creator, I actually started on a blog and on Instagram doing more, like, short form, and then moved over to YouTube in 2017-ish, and I even found too, like, that audience crossover was, like, next to nothing. It was like rebuilding an entire new audience that was gonna watch my YouTube videos. And so I think that's, like, a good thing to to remind maybe short form creators first is, like, you are gonna have to, like, rebuild almost when you're moving over. You might get, like, a small percentage that wanna follow you from one platform to another, but it's, like, really taking advantage of, okay, this is a whole new pool of people who are looking for long form content, how can I engage with them? Maybe it's a completely different audience than my Instagram audience or whatever, but it's still a really valuable audience that just wants to go deeper. So yeah, I think that's huge. Is there
I want to add one piece on that.
Yeah.
So there's actually a metric in analytics. I believe it's on one of the home pages of the analytics tab, and it'll actually show you across content types, across formats, where your audience is. And so if you're a long form and a short form creator, it'll show you 40% are shorts only, 40% are long form only, and then the crossover. And honestly, the highest number I've ever seen for a crossover was like 20%. So most people I've seen more in like the 7% of crossover range. And so you can back this by data on your own channel. If some niches, like for instance, I worked with some gambling creators, and for some reason, they watched all formats, like, religiously. And so judge this based on your niche, but you can actually back this with data. And then the other thing I would share on this point is if you are a short form creator and you're thinking, "How do I break in to long form?" I would suggest starting with shorter long form videos, maybe 4 to 6 minutes. This is gonna be a new muscle for you if you're not as familiar with long form content. So it's more about like, how can I tell a compelling story in 4 minutes or 6 minutes where I'm used to like doing this really punchy thing in 40 seconds. And that's gonna be a new muscle for you. Build it with your audience, get their feedback, again, make it two-way. But that would be my tactical advice for someone who is like short form first and interested or curious for long form is start shorter. Don't just try to do the exact same thing that you do in shorts and extend it. It's going to be a different value, but it should be part of your value proposition. It should exist within that. Sorry, I cut you off there. I just want to add that.
Great. No, that's so great. And it's going into my next question here, which is about like posting frequency. So say it's
Okay.
somebody who is, yeah, used to like those daily short form uploads. What would you say is like the best practice for long form? Is it like fewer, higher quality videos, being more consistent 3 to 4 a week? Like I have done all over the spectrum. I used to do 4 videos a week. I am down to 1 video a week because I have a kid now. So I would love to like, what you've seen perform the best for, like, long form specifically.
Yeah. I think in your question lies a little bit of an answer, which is it depends. It needs to make sense for you, your audience, your life. But to answer the question, I think in a lot of ways, the answer is both. Both are popular or both can be successful. 4 years ago, it was spectacle. It was the biggest video, the grandest entrance. Every video included a lot of money. You had to spend a lot of money, and like everyone was chasing that theme on YouTube. And I actually think that we've pulled back. The pendulum has swung back a little bit. I'm seeing things like daily vlogs from people, seeing things like IRL live streams, for instance, are very popular right now. Speed Across America, Mafiathon. These are things that are like yes, they cost a lot of money and it is a big production, but the production quality isn't necessarily super high. It's more about authenticity, connecting. It's more about like access to this person. And so it's going to depend on your niche. Again, it's going to depend on you. But I actually think that we're in a time where authentic connection is super important here. And I don't know if you can get that if you only publish like once a month.
Totally. And yeah, I definitely feel like it's like using long form for what it's good at, which is like that deeper
Yeah.
connection with people, like being able to sit with someone. I know a lot of people on here are probably like more lifestyle, fashion, beauty is what I was told. And I think that actually plays really well into those categories and the strength of feeling like you're sitting down and like doing your makeup with somebody, or you're like sitting at lunch eating and watching somebody unpack from their trip. And it just feels like you have that more, like you said, like authentic, just in their life connection. And that should actually, to me, it feels really encouraging. It's like taking the pressure off of a video being this big, produced, edited, perfect thing and allowing it to be more human, feel more natural, maybe even be, like you said, a little slower pace, less punchy, but then deepening that connection with that like valuable audience that you've built. And just, yeah, I actually just feel really encouraged by that. I feel like when you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, like that actually plays to a lot of people's strengths because we're all, I don't know if everybody on this call is like a normal person, but I feel like we're all relatively like normal people. Some of us work jobs while we content create, like being able to play into that and to use that towards your content instead of viewing that as like the thing that's holding you back from making better content or more produced content, or like you said, throwing a lot of money behind content. I'm actually really encouraged by that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like, some of those quirks that make you you are also the reason why your audience is there, and they wanna come back, and they wanna know more, and they wanna be your friend, probably in some cases. And I think another data point on this is look at podcasts. They've exploded in popularity, and I think a lot of that is because it's authentic, long form, just hanging out, chatting, something we do with our friends all the time, talk about gossip or topics or the news or what have you. And you feel like you're there hanging out. And so it is authentic. It is about that long form connection and showing the maybe the not so great parts in between. It's not super polished. As far as if I were to give, if someone came to me and they said, "Hey, I'm a long form first creator. What do you think is like a good cadence?" Again, it all is going to depend on you and your audience, but something like one long form a week and two shorts, like that seems like a pretty consistent, pretty normal cadence from what I've seen from creators. I personally think also a little bit of live streaming is great for building depth with the audience. So maybe a live stream a month or something. Obviously, don't just publish because you think that you need to be on this cadence or this schedule. Make sure you have something interesting to say, you have the right title, thumbnail, concept, etc. But that would be a high level cadence or posting schedule that I would talk about if someone came to me and they were long form first.
Awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned a couple shorts a week. When I first started posting shorts on YouTube, I was literally so afraid that they were going to affect my
Mhm.
long form videos. Do they actually like butt heads when it comes to posting schedules, or are they separate with how YouTube pushes them?
Yeah, so the how they affect each other is actually largely separate because there are separate algorithms, and it's not like there's one master algorithm and Longs has another master algorithm. There are many algorithms underneath these as well, and they're largely separate. And so while we will take some signals, let's say I watch a bunch of shorts of this content creator and they're making long form, like we will use that as a signal to try to help grow their multi-format kind of offering. But if I never engage with someone's long form and I'm a short form viewer, like they'll just it'll be stop being served to me. And so there's no negative repercussions to publishing shorts on your long form. There's different viewing behaviors. You'll have largely different audiences. If you were to dive into the demographics, you might find that there's different age ranges, there's different geos, There might even be, if you were to do like an analysis on like the topics that are successful, you might even find that the topics that you cover in shorts that are successful are vastly different from the ones that are successful in long form. And so I have mentioned that I think that long form is the way. And if you look at a lot of the product releases, like we're bringing everything into one channel, like whether that's shorts, podcasts, live stream, community, like it's all on one channel. And so I suggest one channel, multi format, if it makes sense for you and it makes sense for your audience.
Awesome. And just still on this topic of shorts,
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, I know a lot of people will just cross post what they've posted on other platforms, and obviously the other platforms are focused on that short form content. So say they've just been reposting them on YouTube as well, and they've already grown that audience from their repost of their shorts. What, if it's even possible, would you say is the best way to convert those short form viewers into long form viewers if they do want to start posting those long form videos?
Yeah. So I touched on this a little bit, but it's really about understanding, like, as a creator, what's my value proposition to my audience? What are they expecting of me? How can I extend that into longer formats? Because if I do one thing in 40 seconds really well, I can't just extend that into 6 minutes. And so I would do a lot of brainstorming. One thing that we have yet to touch on is packaging of content. And I think that this is probably what you're going to want to spend the most time on as you transition from shorts to long is okay, to package this content, like it needs to be a strong concept. It needs to have a good title, a good thumbnail, and it needs to warrant the amount of time spent and the intro. There's so many things that kind of go into packaging. And so when you're thinking about, okay, I'm short form first, how do I transition? I'd spend a lot of time on that, a lot of time on the packaging. And then I would start testing like 4 to 6 minutes, bringing the audience in, some things that I already mentioned.
That's great. And I feel like that kind of goes into our following question, which is about audience retention. Obviously, it's hard to keep anyone's attention for any amount of time, but it's a little bit easier to keep it for 12, 15 seconds. If we're talking about long form videos, are there any patterns that you're seeing that just have like higher retention in long form?
Yeah. So I guess maybe even to back up a little bit from specifically retention, what do we look at from an analytics perspective? So retention is very important across all formats, certainly. But how I want to frame this is in terms of like audience satisfaction. And that's how we talk about it under this umbrella of when a viewer watches something, were they satisfied? Once they clicked in, did they continue to watch and how long did they watch? Did they share it with someone? Did they like it? Did they comment? Did they watch the next video? All of these things are bucketed under satisfaction. Certainly, if I click something, I watch the whole thing and then I watch like something else on their channel and then I go to their channel. These are all signals that I was very satisfied. And so when you think about something like retention, the first thing, and with all analytics, the first thing that I would try to understand is how does your audience watch? So there's a bunch of analytics on this. I would look at things like what is my TV viewership? And think about if someone's watching me on TV, how different is that from mobile? It's a laid back experience. They're not distracted. I can maybe extend this content length, but I can also maybe increase the length between cuts. Maybe I don't have to have something super snappy. It can be a little bit of a flowing, stretched out story. So understand how they watch. Is it TV, mobile, shorts, live, long form? Then when it comes to retention, what are these metrics that you want to pay attention to? So for shorts, there's a few. So viewed versus swiped away. I'd say this is like the first step of retention. And this is in the first few seconds, did they stay to watch or did they move on? For a short, I would say viewed versus swiped away over 75% is probably minimum where you want to be. And if you're like will this perform well? Or as you analyze your data, and it might be different for you or your niche, but higher viewed versus swiped away is better. Then the next metric would be like your retention. And as a piece of content gets longer, it's okay to have a shorter retention. So if my video is 20 seconds, you probably want to have 100% retention because it's just 20 seconds. But if it's a minute, maybe my retention is 90%. If it's 6 minutes, maybe my retention is 80% or 60%. But if it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, a 30% retention on an hour-long video is quite good. So it's a sliding scale. Certainly, all of these things play a factor. And if you were to look at retention on something like TV, watch time is a metric really to look at, maybe average view duration. Again, if you are getting 40% retention on a hour-long video, like that video is probably performing quite well. Now, to go back to your question though, about like how important is retention or how can you increase retention? Certainly, if it's a long form video, like the packaging is really important here. And the reason why is that if you sold someone a bill of goods and then it's not there, like they're going to bounce immediately. So the context is really important. And the context is really your title, thumbnail, and concept. So if I click on a video and there's nothing there for me in the first 30 seconds, you'll probably see this in analytics, like 60% of people leave in the first 30 seconds. So it is important. The first 30 seconds are important. Having high retention is important. I think it's less, again, 4 years ago, I think it was a little bit of the Mr. Beastification of let's jam everything, like almost like a small trailer or a small teaser in the first 10 seconds. I still think that there's some merit to that, but I think it's more about like creating curiosity gaps. What am I going to get out of this video? What do I not understand? Can you show me what I don't understand or how what I don't understand is going to be answered? And I think if you can do that early on or through the title, thumbnail, concept, and then your intro, I think that's what really can drive to higher retention early on. And then throughout the video, making sure that the pacing is right, that there's not a lot of dead space. You don't give away the answer to all the questions too early, but you have like mini payoffs along the way. But certainly retention is something that everyone should be thinking about. That was probably a longer answer than you were looking for.
No, that was great. And I feel like you covered a lot in that. And I'm very grateful. I really like what you said about that curiosity gap. And it sounds like there is a lot of planning, like maybe time is better spent preparing that video and that concept ahead of time. So that
Yes.
has the best chance of performance versus just like filming something really quick and then wondering why didn't it perform. It sounds like what you've seen be really successful are those creators who are doing all that prep work beforehand and have a plan and know what questions they're going to answer and what they're going to leave out and know like the story that's going to go behind the whole video itself. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, certainly. I think for like a new creator or someone who's just getting into long form videos, or maybe they've stagnated, or you're just like, you're just curious, you're always trying something new. Whatever camp you're in, I do think that there can always be more time spent on packaging. And I think that while this is really straightforward and obvious, when you say it out loud, it's like if they don't click, they don't watch. And so while you don't want to be clickbait, you do have to inspire a click. And so titles, thumbnails, concepts, intros are hugely important.
Yeah. We're gonna do this one really quick, Jase, because I feel like
Okay.
you went over this a lot, but just to like boil it down, top 2 to 3 like metrics that they should be using in analytics to help understand like how their video is performing.
Yeah. Top 2 to 3. Let's see. Retention. Another one that like you might actually have to do some exports and do some play around with your data in Excel or in Google Sheets as well is what I will call like depth metrics. And so get creative on this one, but comments per thousand views or likes per thousand views, shares per thousand views. These are things that can show like, am I building depth with my audience? And you might get some really interesting insights that are not as obvious on Studio. Let's see, what else in Studio? Retention graphs are awesome, and we're releasing more and more of these all the time. So now you can look and say, is this like a new or returning viewer? Is this a casual viewer or a core viewer? And so click into your videos, into your retention graphs, and you can analyze it based on the second. How many people have dropped off? How many people started watching at that point? Really powerful. The last thing is first 24-hour video performance. So when you think about analyzing a video, there's so many variables. One way to try to remove some variables is to analyze it within a specific time period. So you'll find in analytics, and if you have any questions or like you want to follow up on any of this, our help center is awesome. Anytime I get a question from a creator or whomever, I go straight to the help center and it's where I get 90% of my answers. So first 24-hour video performance, search it if you can't find it, but it's a way to analyze your content based on the first 24 hours of it performing, the first 7 days or the first 28 days. And you can start to break down what are those metrics that make your videos really tick. Is it retention? Is it likes? What is it? Love first 24-hour video performance.
Christy, do you want to go into the questions that were submitted earlier, or do you want us to keep going?
Yeah, I think this conversation is great and super insightful. If everyone has time, obviously, I know we scheduled this originally to be about 45 minutes, but if everyone's comfortable, we can go through the hour or up until the hour, I should say. And yeah, you all can keep chatting. I know there are like one or two more topics we wanted to cover and then hop into some Q&As, and then I'll pop back on when we're almost at the hour. And yeah, yeah, if that works. Okay, cool.
That's great. Okay, so a feature on YouTube that you think more creators should be using but are not.
Okay. So first off, I have to do a shout out to Creator Insider. If you're not subscribed or you don't watch the Creator Insider videos, these are great, just like product updates, because it's honestly, we're releasing so much so frequently that it's really hard for anyone to stay on top of it. Subscribe to Creator Insider. Next, I strongly suggest also following what I'll call industry commentators, people like Colin and Samir or Hayden Hillier Smith or Patty Galloway or whomever it is that you really jive with. Follow them and listen to them. I think it's great just to know overall what's going on in the ecosystem, what's going on with the platform. From my personal perspective, if I were to say like products that I think more people could be using, right now, my thought is memberships and live. And the reason why I pick those two and is really because of this idea of like depth with your audience and the fact that there is more competition. And so like audiences and niches are getting a little bit more smaller, a little bit more specific. I think that you really can develop something unique and interesting with a very core audience. And I think that memberships, a lot of people view it as you're charging money for something that you could be giving away for free. But when you talk with someone who has really strong memberships, their members are super happy to be a member. Like they want to be part of that community. They want the additional value. They see value in it. And so for memberships, I think it's really about extending your value proposition in a really unique way, building a really strong core community, and give yourself some consistent income that you don't have to think about changing your style or chasing the next biggest trend. If your audience loves what you do and you can add additional value through memberships, I think it's really powerful. The next one, live, the reason why I say this one is that I think this is a little bit of a pushback or a pendulum swing away from how hyper online we are. And while live is still online, I think there's some really interesting examples of ways that you could do live on YouTube in conjunction with a live moment, like an in real life moment, like Speed Across America, for instance. He's bringing like a live experience to his fans, but he's also streaming it live. Alex Honnold on Netflix. This isn't even a YouTube specific recommendation or thought here. It's these moments that are creating opportunities for us to have a dialogue about them, creating opportunities to there was people in Taipei watching him and we were watching online. I think that I think in real life or in person is growing because of this like aversion or this kind of like bifurcation of online and in real life. And I think you get like a meld of the two in the middle with live streaming. So those are my two answers.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the live scares me personally,
Yeah.
but there is something to be said about what you said about just having that connection and having that completely unedited
Yeah.
favorite creator. I think that probably builds a lot of trust and connection and really just lets people in on what's actually happening in real time. And that's what terrifies me, but I think that
Yeah.
has a lot of value. Are there
Maybe
any
maybe you can try one as a follow-up.
I don't know, I'm scared. This is about as live as I'll go. Like, are there any broader long form themes that are gaining traction right now besides live?
Yeah.
Any that you're seeing?
So I've hinted at this a little bit. I think in general, there is less a specific theme that owns the platform. And I think you see this a little bit in our product choices. So, for instance, the trending tab now is broken out into multiple different trending tabs or trending sections because there's just so many creators creating so much awesome content across so many niches that I don't know if there's one specific long form theme that's really owning the platform right now. I don't know. I do you have any thoughts on this, Chloe?
I it's so funny because of the algorithm. I feel like it makes me feel sometimes like the YouTube world is so small and so tailored to my interests. But then I watch my husband, his algorithm could not be any more different. And I think that's what's so incredible about it. Is like maybe the overarching theme is like more of a trend in like how we're seeing people wanting to consume content, whether that going back to long form, going back to those more authentic feeling videos
Mhm.
that can go between. It could be an authentic cooking video that is less edited. It could be a fashion video, a vlog, working at a car shop. Like I feel like those broader themes might be more just like how audiences are wanting to connect with what they're watching versus more so like a trend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I think that's a great answer.
Okay, last 10 minutes. We're just going to rapid fire through some of the questions that were previously submitted.
Yes.
So much good stuff has already been shared, though. So I feel like maybe some of these we've already talked about. But the first question is there a point where changing a thumbnail or a title stops helping the YouTube push the video again?
Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of rapid fire these. I did see these in advance. So no, the audience, if the audience engages with the video differently, positively or negatively, it will impact the video. So it's more about are these changes that I'm making, changing the way the audience is engaging. So maybe they're clicking in at a higher rate, maybe they're watching longer. Those things will positively impact no matter how old the video is.
That's awesome. Okay. Is there a point where uploading too frequently can actually hurt performance?
Yeah, it certainly can. Especially think about your own content. Like, how long does it take people to consume it? If you're making hour-long piece of content and you're doing that daily, it's pretty unrealistic for an audience to remember to watch an hour every single day. But maybe you make stuff that's really topical, or maybe it's news based. And so every day needs to be how you publish, or maybe it's daily vlogs. And so you're just trying to catch people where they're at. Maybe they didn't watch Tuesday, Wednesday, but they watched Thursday, Friday. So I'll say there are some content formats where it does not make sense to do every day or multiple times a day, but there are others where you can totally get away with it.
Awesome. Tips for a creator with a good subscriber base from years ago that is looking to make a comeback in 2026 in today's current landscape.
Yes. This is a great question. I think like the reality is here is like you're gonna have to be prepared to lose some subscribers. If you have, let's say you build this big audience and you went away for a couple years, as you figure out what you're going to do next and you start publishing, it's very likely that you'll lose subscribers for the first few months as you're leaning into this new strategy because people's viewing preferences, their viewing behaviors change over time. I know you asked me if you can change this yourself. I don't know if it's something that you can change as a creator, but it just happens. Things that I watched 4 years ago, I don't really watch anymore. And so all this said, be ready to lose some subscribers. Just lean into your new strategy, talk with your audience, iterate, be multi-format. I think all the things still hold true. It's just don't get discouraged. Like you're going to see some challenging times at the beginning, but the people who want to be there are going to stick around and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I actually have a follow-up question that isn't one that was submitted.
Okay.
Um, if you are changing topics or you are changing what you want the
Thank-
content to be about, would you suggest starting a new channel or continuing with what you had and it being a complete like 180 from what you used to post?
Do you want to keep making what you used to make in this scenario?
This isn't a personal question. I'm just so
Yeah,
curious.
yeah,
Say
yeah.
you did like crafts videos and then 4 years later you're like, oh, had that YouTube channel where I grew to 50,000 subscribers and now I want to post daily vlogs. Would you suggest just it might be better to just start a new channel that's like really focused so people know what they're getting when they come to that channel? Or would you be like, build off of what you have? Maybe some people want to watch those.
Yeah, I would say it really depends on how closely like your personal brand was tied into that previous channel and how long there was a gap. So if it was I wasn't really integrating my own personality into the channel and I grew it and then I moved on. Like for instance, I worked with this channel, it was like about is slime content or something. And they made it years ago where slime content was popular on YouTube. There was no personality in it. And so then when he reimagined himself, he just made a new channel because no one would have known him from the slime days, obviously. So in that case, it made a lot of sense to just make a new channel. Now, if your previous channel had a lot of personality and there wasn't a big gap in between when you go to do a new thing, I would just say keep it on the same channel. Like people are going to drop off, but people subscribe to you for a reason and some people will stick around. Now, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I was just genuinely curious about that.
Yeah.
Next question, is there a sweet spot for long form YouTube video length to keep the audience engaged?
Yeah. So I talked about this a little bit at in the middle there, but if you're getting a lot of TV watch time, for instance, think that's more laid back. You can probably push your content length to 30 minutes or so. And if you're getting like 30 minutes, 45% retention or so, that's going to be a pretty well performing video. If it's a lot of mobile, and I guess if it's a lot of mobile, then I would think about what the concept warrants. If the concept is very small and basic, like it probably can't be a 30-minute video. But if the concept is really grand, you could push it 40 minutes. So I think right now, long form content seems to be getting longer and it seems to be bifurcating a little bit where it's like there's a lot of shorts and there's a lot of longer form content. But I think that's not because of what we're doing. It's just like viewer preferences. Like people like either short, snappy stuff or they really like going deep, that authenticity with their creators. Personally, like if I were to give my answer, I would love to see more shorter, mid-length content because 30 minutes is a long time to watch something, and I don't want shorts all the time. Yeah, that's my answer.
Cool. Best practices for YouTube Shorts.
Yes. Make sure your content is engaging on its own. No trailers, no teasers. Titles are more important than you think because people can jump into the shorts shelf from the homepage. And the first 2 seconds, first 5 seconds, these are super, super important in shorts.
Cool. Best practices for constructing a YouTube bio. And do people go to YouTube bios?
I think this one is really about sponsorships.
Okay.
And so there's a book that I read. It's Justin Moore. It's called Sponsor Magnet. And he actually talks about how to construct a bio to attract long-term partnerships. And this is something that work with your Magic Links people here if they have any tips and tricks. But I really think it's about how can I be most attractive to a potential brand rather than I don't think many viewers are going to your bio.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jase. That was awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm just going to pop in here. Agree, Jace. I think a lot of that looking into bios and trying to find contact information is definitely coming from, maybe not necessarily just your average viewer, but always great to have that updated for sure. It makes all of our lives, brand lives, a lot easier. But with that said, thank you both so much. This was incredibly informative and it was a wonderful discussion. I think all of our creators are just super happy to hear from you both. So really appreciate your time and effort and just so excited to make sure that our creators feel really prepared to take on this next quarter and year. Can't believe we're already almost in mid-March. But yeah, I think Allie has a few quick takeaways just to make sure everyone has all the info as we wrap this up. And yeah, I'll let you take it away.
Yes. So before we wrap, really quick, just a couple quick things for everyone on the call. We'll be sending out an email with some key takeaways from today and some resources so you can have everything in one place. And then if you want to go a little deeper on strategy or talk about how to better optimize magic links for your content, you can always schedule a one-on-one session with me and we can talk through that. We'll add a little contact link in the email so you can set that up with me. And then for anyone here who isn't already on Magic Links, we'd love to have you join. So you can apply anytime by heading over to our website and applying there. But yeah, thanks again so much, everyone, for joining. And huge thank you to Chloe and Jase. I learned so much during that, and I'm going to rewatch the recording and learn more. Yeah, thank you all, and hope you enjoyed.
Thanks, Allie. Thanks, Chloe. See
Bye.
everybody.
Bye. Oh.
Did you guys want to do a debrief or do I need to leave?
Yeah, maybe we can close that and then we'll ping you, Chloe. Okay.